Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
It's a Thrive Time Show on the radio. Yes, it is. Oh, yeah. It's all about you. 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 Yeah. So we bring the boom.
All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the conversation. It is the Thrive Time Show on your radio. We're joined here today with Marshall Morris, the business coach and the co-author of the Amazon bestseller Start Here, and Mr. Eric Chupp, business coach, and Dr. Robert Zellner, the CEO of the Thrive Time Show, and the entrepreneur extraordinaire, the entrepreneur trapped inside an optometrist's body. And we're talking about 14 super moves for enhancing the efficiency of your life and business. Now, this next move, Marshall, I know you're passionate about. It is the concept of automating your savings. Why do all the listeners out there need to automate their savings?
You got to automate your savings because you got to pay yourself first. It's this concept of paying yourself first. You're going through the craziness of running a business, okay? You're taking the risk. You're managing employees. You're hiring. You're firing people. And at the end of the day, you need to be putting money away so that at the end of it all, you have saved enough money to retire on.
Now, Martin Luther King Jr., the famous civil rights activist and leader, a lot of people don't realize this, but there was a lot of think about this. There was a lot of people for a long, long time who thought that there was a lot of injustice going on with legal segregation. But Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the few strategic people out there willing to take the time to plan out a very, very detailed plan for getting in front of the media. Dr. Z, I'm not sure if the listeners are aware of this, but if you watch the movie Selma, Z, have you seen the movie Selma?
No, I missed that.
You would like this movie. This is the thing that Martin Luther King Jr. did. He made a list. The research was done to figure out which police chiefs were racist. Like, what are the towns and the communities where the most racist activities are occurring? What are those places? And he thought to himself, you know what we're going to do? We're going to protest in one of those areas, but I want my own phone to be tapped, and I don't want them to think my phone is tapped. I want to use some reverse psychology. Then he said, anybody who wants to be a volunteer, this is where it gets a little deep, a little heavy. He says, we're going to tie your hands behind your back, and then we're going to beat you, physically assault you as you're training for the protests. So therefore, when you get in front of a camera and we're being shot with fire hoses because the media might edit together a certain side of the story, if we do it in these strategic towns, it's just far south that they're going to have some racism there. And if we do it in front of the right specific places, if we demonstrate in front of the right specific police departments in the right specific towns where white supremacists are known to be, and we have the right trained people, the right trained protesters who won't freak out, and if we tip off the media, then the media will be there to capture the atrocities that we live. Because there was lynchings going on, and people in the North didn't know what was happening. And so he took the time to organize this movement. And he wrote down, he says, rarely do we find men who willingly engage in hard, solid thinking. There's almost a universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than having to think. So, Marshall, whether it's your finances, whether it's something deep like ending segregation, no matter what it is, usually the right answer requires some deep thinking. Talk to me about why you have to think deeply about your personal finances and make that one-time decision to automate your savings.
Well, here's the thing. I know a lot of business owners that are trying to do this deep, hard, solid thinking in the middle of the workday, and it is never going to get done. You have to actually block off time to be able to do this away from everybody else. And so this morning, I did a ton of critical thinking. It was like at 3:30 in the morning.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was awesome. I woke up earlier. Okay, I woke up at 2:30 instead of 3.
Are you expanding the periodic table?
Yeah, I was expanding, adding to Californium. And so
I told her who's got 2 thumbs and saved hundreds.
Whoa.
Nice.
Whoa.
Nice.
Whoa. 2 thumbs. Wow.
2 thumbs. And
sure you know I'm still here.
so you got to do all of your meta time. You got to do all of your hard thinking during meta time. And once you're doing that, you're going to actually come up with more solutions to those more complex issues.
I want to get Z's take on this and Chup's take on this because, Z, you're known for writing very successful ads. One of your advertisements right now runs on this station, and it's an interview with you and your daughter, and you guys are talking about, I believe, a March special you have going?
Yes.
And you've been doing this for a long time. You've been doing, how long have you been
25
doing?
years.
25 For 25 years, you've been doing radio ads?
Yes.
So I'm sure now it's easier for you to write scripts than it used to be.
Yes.
But don't you have to have a little quiet time and a piece of paper to sit down and write an intelligent script if you've never written an advertisement script before?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You've got, yes. You have to have, or some inspiration. And, for me, I can do them so quickly now. I have...
You have a formula now.
I have a formula, and it just works, and so it's kind of a tried and true.
But you used to listen to other advertisements with a curious ear, and you
Correct.
still do.
Yes, oh yes.
But you're thinking, why is that ad effective? And why is that ad absolutely terrible and completely not effective? And why is that probably damaging the brand of the company for even airing that commercial? I mean, you've thought about it before.
Yes, I have, and a lot of times I'll find myself someplace buying something, and I'll say to myself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it here? Why am I doing it now? Why did that ad move me the way that it moved me? And so I was real kind of critical and curious about that. And so those are some of the little things that you think about. I didn't have a degree in marketing, but I enjoyed marketing. I enjoyed the concepts of marketing, and I enjoyed the idea that you can go into someone's car or house via the radio.
Yes.
And you could convince them to come and give you some of their hard-earned money to get the product or service that you're doing. It's a fascinating kind of thing, isn't it?
Chup, you had something that you were going to add onto this phantasmagoria. What were you going to say there, my friend?
I just want to say, we keep talking about schedule this, schedule that, hit it with a wiffle ball bat, whatever.
Oof.
But the point to all of this is one thing that I see, we're talking about how Marshall's talking about how if you don't have this meta time, then you're not going to do this during the chaotic burning fires of the middle of the day. And so in order to put things on a schedule, you actually have to have a schedule.
Come on now.
So you have to sit down, maybe action step one during your first meta time session, if you're not currently doing this, is to sit down, block out time, physically block it out, pull up your Google Calendar, get it up on the screen, print it off, whatever you need to do. But
are you advocating that I would actually have to physically do something as a result of
intentionally, proactively, and block out that time for whatever you need, because otherwise it's too hard to grow and run a business to try and strategically think during the middle of the day.
If you are listening today and you feel like you are just absolutely stuck and you're saying to yourself, I'm overwhelmed. I'm now listening to this and I'm realizing I'm not scheduling a time to do anything intentionally. Well, the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up and then do nothing. So I want to tell you this. Our goal is to make sure all of our listeners feel whole. They never leave the show feeling full of holes. We want to make sure that we're coaching you up and not ever patronizing and talking down to you. So I'd encourage you to go to thrivetimeshow.com and book your tickets for our next in-person Thrive Time Show 2-day event. An interactive workshop. See, people laugh, they learn. We've heard good things. People love them.
L and L. Those are the two things we're going for. It's you don't know what you don't know.
Ooh.
Right?
So if you are, kind of skeptical about, committing 2 days of your time to attend a workshop, I would encourage you to type in Thrive Time Show reviews into Google. And you can find, as of the time of this particular recording, we have over 600 video testimonials.
Come on.
600. I mean, 600 real humans. That's a lot. And see, the hologram technology, it turned out to be too difficult, too tough for us to do it all via hologram and make them say things or to pay actors. These are real conference attendees. Check them out today by going to thrivetimeshow.com. Stay tuned.
Want to attend the legendary Thrive Time Show Business Workshop for free? Subscribe on iTunes, leave an objective review, and send us confirmation at info@thrivetimeshow.com to claim your tickets. Want to live in a van down by the river? Come by and see us at our Riverwalk offices, and we'll be able to make your dreams come true.
Hello, Thrive Nation. Welcome back to the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download. And today we're talking about the 14 super moves that you can use to enhance the efficiency of your life and business. We have 3 more moves that we're teaching today, and I want to make sure that you have a piece of paper, a pen, something to jot this down with, because there are 3 areas of your business life that will totally get screwed up if you don't take the time today or in the past or in the future, in the near future, to schedule them. So, Marshall, let's get into this first one here. You've got to schedule a monthly reoccurring meeting to meet with your accountant. Now, some guy like Dr. Z, you have you have full-time people now that help you do your accounting. Because you get to a certain point where it makes more sense to bring it in-house.
Right, but still we do monthly P&Ls.
So, but you want to look at the numbers on a monthly basis to make sure things aren't drifting. Now, Jim Rohn, the New York Times best-selling author and legendary speaker and trainer, he said that discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And I would just say this before I tee it up to Marshall. If you don't like discipline, you will be disciplined by an outside force. So if you don't like to follow the speed limit, you don't discipline yourself to do that, then the outside force, the law enforcement, will discipline you. If you don't want to follow the rules of the office, then an outside force, a manager, will get on to you. If you don't want to take care of your customers and hit your deadlines, an outside force, the customer, will get on to you. So ultimately, people who don't like to be disciplined, they get disciplined the most, and they get dealt with probably the most severely. But Marshall, what would you say to anybody out there listening who says, I haven't met with my accountant in like years?
Well, this is what I see is a lot of times when a business owner hasn't met with their accountant, it's because they don't like their accountant. They're like, this is like it's like pulling teeth meeting with your accountant, because the accountant's never bringing good news, because most of the news is always reactive, okay, the entire time. And so when you are meeting with your accountant, step number 1 is find an accountant that you like. And so one of the sponsors of the Thrive Time Show,
Marshall, I want to be your accountant. I like you.
Is Paul Hood over at Hood & Associates.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And he's one of the only accountants that we've worked with that is proactive in his accounting methods.
I would say this, of all the accountants we've ever referred people to, or all the accountants I've ever used, I've really only had 3 or 4 that are just not difficult to work with. There's a certain tonality that certain professionals have where they talk. I've seen doctors do it. I've seen attorneys do it, where it's a patronizing tone where they almost make the entrepreneurs feel like they're mildly retarded as a result of not being able to keep up with their acronyms and jargon. Have you seen this?
Well, most of us are mildly retarded, so.
See, have you seen this?
No, yes, of course, yes.
Yeah, they just fill the conversation with jargon, and the person doesn't know what they're saying.
They talk. It's talking above somebody, because you don't maybe all know all the lingo for you didn't get into you're not a CPA, so it can be, and I don't know why that profession attracts a certain make and model, but it does.
And there's some good ones out there, but it's rare.
Oh, it's rare, so that's why you interview. And you
check out HoodCPAs.
And you go in, you just shop it around. Just because the guy's been your accountant for a while doesn't mean you can't change.
We have a lot of people that want to advertise on this show, and if you want to advertise on this show, I'll just tell you the process here. First off, you send a text message to 918-851-6920. So you have to kind of apply to be an advertiser.
Okay.
So you send us a text message to 918-851-6920. Step 2, we actually have to try out the service. See, we're going to refer an accountant who's a knucklehead. We're not going to do that. We're going to refer a knucklehead service. We're actually going to try out the service ourselves. And then if we like the service, we'd be happy to talk to you about it. Our whole goal with our advertisers is we want to make sure that you're bringing in more money. See, it's a crazy idea. We want our advertisers to bring in more money than they're paying to be on the show.
That just makes sense.
I mean, you advertise, and last time I checked, the radio stations aren't a big nonprofit that you're just donating to out of the goodness of your heart, right? I mean, because it works.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Marshall, the final 2 areas. You got to schedule a weekly meeting with all ongoing key relationships, like with your attorney. So Wes Carter's here, Tulsa's #1 attorney, in my humble opinion. Tulsa's #1 attorney, Wes Carter, in my humble opinion, with Winters and King. Wes, why do you have to, if you're a business owner, have an ongoing relationship with an attorney such as yourself or somebody else? Why do you want to not just reach out to an attorney when you're in a legal bind?
Well, there's a few reasons. I think one of the most important reasons is planning ahead saves you a lot of headaches and money in the long run.
Can you repeat that, please?
So planning ahead saves you a lot of money and headaches in the long run. So getting with whether it's a CPA or an attorney and planning, how do we avoid this problem? Or here's what I'm doing. Do you see any landmines I may be stepping on? In the long run, saves you all that drama, lawsuits, litigation.
I will just tell you this, and think about this. I want you to just, Thrive Nation, listen to this for a second. Think about this. Get out the piece of paper. Who do you need to meet with once a month to keep your business up in orbit? See, it takes so much rocket fuel to get your business into profitability.
Yes.
To get the plates spinning, to get up there into orbit.
I love that image of the rocket because it does. It's just firing off.
And then, Houston, we have a problem. We do not have any legal documents filed for the last 2 years. Our LLC is expired. Houston, we haven't filed our taxes for what appears to be 48 years. Could you send an accountant up here?
I mean, see, you don't want to wait till it gets that bad, right?
You don't. Some people do, and it's not good. It's because if you don't, if you fail to plan, you're planning kind of for failure,
Now, here is the final thing you got to schedule. And Z, I want you to talk about this, and I want to get Marshall to talk about this. This is big. It seems stupid, it seems obvious, but it's big. Dr. Robert Zellner's and Associates, when you go into your 2 offices where you see thousands and thousands of patients a year, you guys have glasses that you sell. You see, I went in, I bought these glasses right here from you. I've got these pairs. I actually purchased 2 of them.
They look good. They look good on you.
I appreciate that. I could purchase 2 of them. And I went in there, and they didn't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're all out." And I said, "What do you mean? Are you all out of what?" And they go, "Just everything."
Everything.
But yet, a true story. I happened to be up in Minnesota for a speaking event in Rochester, Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota, Rochester, home of the Mayo Clinic. I'm up there in Rochester, Minnesota. And I broke a pair of glasses. True story. And I went to the local optometrist there, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Optometrist, I want to get another pair similar to this." And they go, "Oh, we're out." And I said, "Well, what about this kind?" They said, "Oh, we're out." I said, "Well, what about this?" "Oh, we're out." And I realized they're out of business probably. So I had to go to another optometrist. So just making sure you stay on top of your office supplies. I think that's a huge
thing. I was in a restaurant last week, and I was looking at the menu, and I was like, "Oh, this salad looks really good. I'd like the seared tuna salad." She looked at me and goes, we don't have any tuna.
I worked at Applebee's one time. My boss, I remember him, he pulled me aside, Ian, and he goes, this happened often actually, he goes, "Guys, I forgot to get the inventory done, and so we're out of steaks tonight. Now I know the special we're doing is the steak, whatever. I'll give you guys, I'll give you guys a bonus though if you can steer people to chicken or shrimp." People were like, "Well, what would you like to get today, sir?" And they're going, "I'd like steak." And you go, "I'll tell you this, I'm willing to offer you 100% refund. I'm so confident. Our chicken is it's moist, it's succulent. If you haven't tried our shrimp, it is incredible." And people are thinking, "Man, you're pretty passionate about chicken." That chicken, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. I went back there and talked to my chef at Applebee's. We now have a chef, not just a guy who doesn't speak our language back there working.
"Clay, you did so good on the chicken. We're out of it now, so just shrimp."
No, but that's how it was, though. I remember that manager. He used to always say, "Hey, those fries? We're out of that particular fry. So if you can pitch people." And I got pretty good at selling by learning how to steer and pitch.
By what he inventoried or didn't have.
But we have one of our listeners out there, great listeners, and these guys, it's called Onyx Professional Print Supply. Onyx Professional Print Supply. It's ONYX. Why? Because you got to stay on top of your office supplies. See, ONYX. Why? Because you got to stay on top of your office supplies. Their phone number, if you just go to onyximaging.com, onyximaging.com today, ONYXimaging.com. And these guys will sit down with you, and they're going to make sure that they audit all your print supplies. And see, crazy deal, they're going to deliver.
That's so frustrating when you look up and your printer's out of ink, and you're like,
paper's out of paper.
Who didn't get the paper or the stuff?
Out of pens, out of paper. Marshall, how can it just shut down a business when they run out of paper, pens? You see it with the clients we've coached. I mean, it can just shut down a business.
Yeah, people will either not print anything at all, or they'll spend their entire day not fulfilling their product or service, but rather driving around to all the different places that they have to go get stuff at.
Which causes depression, which causes your employees to then go on Netflix and to rent the movie Fargo. Which causes them to watch movies about putting people in wood chippers, which then causes people to start speaking with a northern accent.
Yeah, don't do that.
This could lead to a spiraling.
Ice fishing? Could this lead to ice fishing?
Pretty soon all your friends are named Bjorn,
Sven,
Leaf. You don't want that kind of contamination to spread. So if you're listening right now and you want your office to not spiral into a complete
coma,
what you got to do is go to onyximaging.com. Now, see, we like to end the show with a boom, but before we do, if all the listeners go to thrivetimeshow.com, they can find the podcasts,
boom,
the in-person workshops,
boom,
the one-on-one business coaching,
boom.
We've got thousands of videos up there for your viewing pleasure. Learn entrepreneurship from mentors and not mistakes, all at thrivetimeshow.com. And as always, 3, 2, 1, boom.